Right, we're going to try and run DCS, and we've got a couple of things that we've changed since last time, so let's just go through those first. First is that I have gone into my Oculus Tray Tool settings and have changed a couple of settings here. That my FOV multiplier is set to 0.65. Now this is making some kind of difference in the headset in that it's a bit of a letterbox effect. But it doesn't make any difference when you're in DCS for some reason. So we are going to just ignore that for now. But I have made some changes based on the advice in a video by another YouTuber, and I will link that video in the comment section below. Right, I have loaded OpenXR Toolkit and left everything pretty much as standard. But I'm going to make some changes in OpenXR Toolkit when I actually load DCS. In the actual Oculus Home, I have set my refresh rate from 90 to 72 Hertz. Okay, and the rendering resolution is the same, but I think this is less demanding on the headset, and in addition, running at a low refresh rate seems to be a bit easier on the battery. So that's that. I have got my system monitor up. I'm going to leave that there. Hopefully it won't get in the way. So I was having poor performance with 2.9, and DLSS is a washout for me. I don't really see the point of it on my system. My system is a i7 9700K processor with a 3080 Ti graphics card. So we'll do a couple of tests. We are first of all going to have a quick look at the settings. These are my game settings for DCS. Now you'll notice that MSAA is 4 times, but that gives me a reasonably good visuals. DLSS, as I said, it does not work for me really. It just makes everything look terrible. These are pretty much the same settings as I had with my Quest 2, except MSAA was 2 times. Textures were medium, terrain textures were high, shadows were off, visible range is high, clouds are set to low, water is set to medium. Most of everything else is off, and then you can see where I've got my sliders set. I've got my LOD slightly higher at 1.5. And I have my anisotropic filtering at 16 times. My VR settings is my pixel density is set to 1. MSAA mask size is 0.25. I don't even know if that makes a difference, to be perfectly honest with you, but that's what we're going with. So first of all, let's now open up OpenXR, and I've got a couple of settings which I don't know if you can actually see this in the recording because I think it's only showing up in my headset, but I'm on the performance page. I'm on the performance page of OpenXR Toolkit, and I have got overlay is set to off, upscaling is set to off, fixed foveated rendering. Now here's an interesting one. I've set the preset to quality and balanced. That's giving me an extra 5 FPS, believe it or not, and turbo mode turned to on is giving me additional FPS. I'll try and demonstrate how many when I'm in game. I've set my frame rate throttling to 72 because I don't need more than 72 frames because that's my refresh rate. And let's jump straight into an instant action. So we're starting off in the Caucasus map on a fairly low-tech aircraft where we would expect performance to be excellent anyway. Excuse me while it loads. Let's recenter my view. And bring up my frame counter. Oh, no, I've paused it by accident. Oh, alright, so we're getting 72. It looks really smooth. There's no framiness as the aircraft flies past me. The model looks crisp from a distance. Yeah, solid around 70 frames. Is a tricky one, but look how smooth the frames are. Very low to the ground, still getting well over 60 FPS. Oh, he's gone into the trees, maneuver kill. Alright, so I've got a little bit of pressure off me now. So if you look at my FPS at the moment, flying pretty low to the ground, I'm just under 70 FPS. If I go into my XR Toolkit and I'm just going to turn off fixed foveated rendering, you'll see that I get a bit of a frame drop there. Let's turn it back on, and I'm back up to 70. Turn it off, I'm losing about 3 or 4 FPS there. That's going down to my turbo mode, and I'm going to turn off turbo mode, which effectively enables asynchronous warp. So I'm now down to 36 FPS. So turn that back on, and I'm up to 72, which is the maximum for me, given my refresh rate settings. So we've got a big difference. We've got a doubling of FPS on this map anyway, with those two settings. So let's get off this one and let's go back into a much more demanding scenario. So I'm going to go into another instant action, but this is going to be the AH-64D on the Mariana map and deck landing qualifications. Right, so you can see this is much more demanding on my GPU than the other map. The Apache is one that I'm not getting the best performance in, but I am getting, just as I'm sitting here, 42 FPS. So let's just see what happens when I turn off fixed foveated rendering. See, again, I'm losing 4 FPS, 3 or 4 FPS straight away. Turned it back on now, and then I'm turning off turbo mode, and I'm dropping down to mid 30s. Okay, turned it back on again, and that's the maximum I can get. So I'm going to take off and fly around a bit. I've tried hundreds of different settings to try and improve the experience on this particular map and this particular mission. Again, I know this is single player, but this is the one that seems to kill my performance. So I've jumped up now I'm out over the ocean, not so many trees, getting up to around about 50. So the best I was getting before this was, I think, around 42 with my previous settings, and as I was approaching the ships, that was tending to drop. It's much more smooth, fewer hiccups in the frames, almost none in fact. Always seems to be a little bit of a frame drop just at that point coming off the island. And we're going to just go and fly over to the carrier and have a look at the objects on deck. So normally what would happen, because there's lots of detail and lots of models, I would get poor performance as I approach the ships. And that seems to be much better now, substantially better. It looks less jaggy as well because I've set MSAA to 4 times. The back of the ship would look really ugly. It looked very, very jaggy and messy, but it looks much nicer now. And again, we're getting really good steady frames around about sort of high 40s, 50. Radar dish looks crisp. The models of the AWACS aircraft look really good as well. There's still a little bit of jagginess on those kind of the thinner wires and stuff, and the railings, but it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. That'll do. Alright, so turning fixed foveated rendering off, we've dropped down to 45. Turn it back on, we're just under 50. Turbo mode going off, we're stuck at 36 FPS and we're now CPU bound. And we go on back on turbo mode or ASW off in this essentially, and we're back up to around 50. So that seems to be a feature of those two functions within the game. So now I'm going to go and run a multiplayer server. This has got a large number of ground units. Still drawing in. Any second now. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so just sitting here on the ground, as you can see, we've got a couple of Hueys and a KA-50 at this FARP. I'm going to just go into my OpenXR Toolkit and once again turn off fixed foveated rendering. So we'll look at we're at around 40, 54, 55. Turn that off, and we seem to be around 50. So turn it back on, and we're at gained another 4 or 5 FPS. Turbo mode, we are going to turn that off now. Okay, and then we're going to turn it back on. So here's the interesting thing: if we actually turn off the turbo mode, in other words, we've enabled asynchronous warp, turning off foveated rendering makes no difference whatsoever. We're still at the same FPS. It only makes a difference when it's turned on. Okay, so we're up around 55. So let's go and fly off and see what happens to the FPS when we encounter enemy ground units, of which there are a large number. As we come over the hill to our front, we should see some enemy. That's a friendly, I think. And we're probably not going to last very long once we go over this hill, so forgive me for that. Right, Master Arm is on, guns are up. And there's a convoy. Let's see if we can come at it from the other side. Strafe down the middle. Okay, keep an eye on that frame counter. We're at mid to high 50s. Okay, that was successful. Let's get the heck out of here. Oh, there we go. That's something important. And we're still getting our reasonably good frame rates, mid to high 50s still. In spite of all the ground units, it's very, very smooth. Yeah, I've lost tail rotor authority. I think I may have lost the back end of my helicopter. Let's see if I can get it down. Ah, okay. So I would have survived. Alright then, that's enough of that. Let us try multiplayer. Okay, so I was running a server there. I was running a server with a lot of units. Let's try and do multiplayer as our final test. FAA 18. Alright, good, it's a hot start. Right, let's go and see where we are on the map. Right, there's a lot of aircraft around that area, so... And we can fly out to the east, west, sorry. Alright, let's just take off. Alright, I've noticed that frame dips when I go into the F10 map. Right, so let's go and fly out to the airfield. So we turn off turbo mode and we turn on turbo mode. We get in 40-ish. Alright, so there's definitely a difference flying in the multiplayer map. Again, we have got some objects on the ground, we have got defensive units and armour. But still, 40 FPS, I'll take that. It's better than 35. I wish I'd thought about where the runway was. 55-ish. Let's go and see the ships. We've got a 3 flight up there. Let's go and join up with those actually. Alright, so hitting our limit of 70. We would expect that because we're high up in the air. F-15, so good luck catching them. Oh, F-16. Solid 60s. Looks very smooth from in the cockpit. So we've got other players in the server.